It seems that either by accident or with intent, the Smithsonian has not allowed any of these artifacts to be cross-referenced with ancient Mesopotamian text because, as you can see, the picture starts to become a whole lot clearer once you do. We will explore more of these ancient sites and artifacts in future volumes of this film series. But there's one more strange artifact I'd like to discuss here before we explore more about the rock wall's origins and possible creators. In an April 1880 edition of the Dallas Daily Times-Herald, an article appeared describing strange triangular-shaped plates with Phoenician lettering, skull and crossbones, an all-seeing eye, and reports that they rang like a bell when struck, and were said to have been found in a strata where dinosaur bones were being extracted. The following is the article as it appeared. Mysterious relics, more specimens found near Browder Springs. Does the light of other days shine on us through them? It is a fact well known in this city that in the many excavations, diggings, and borings that have been made by the Water Supply Company and others around Browder Springs in Dallas, numerous geological and zoological specimens have been found. The teeth and different bones of mastodons on different occasions have been dug up in fossilized shells, and not a great while ago, at a considerable distance under the surface, Mr. Duncan, City of Dallas engineer, while getting out gravel near these springs, found a number of eggs of either some member of the saurian species or of some large fowl, the shells in a perfect state of preservation. The waters of these springs, being strongly impregnated with lime, seem to have a tendency to petrify animal and vegetable matter. These specimens that have been found go to show that this country, in ages past, was the home of the mastodon and other orders of the animal kingdom long since extinct. We find, too, in various parts of the Union, traces of the existence of peoples who lived centuries ago and who have left behind them no mark to tell who or what they were, save these traces as shown in pottery and hieroglyphics and in the bits of skeletons of themselves found in the mounds, many of which have become noted and which much has been written both in prose and in poetry. Colonel L.J. Dupree, former editor of the Austin Statesman, but now in Washington, has investigated the subject of the mound builders and written a number of papers for Harper's Monthly and other magazines about them, and he has also poeticized on the subject. In some parts of the country, too, walls and the ruins of seeming fortifications have been found, erected by hands that centuries ago crumbled into dust, the hands of a people far more intelligent and advanced in civilization than any of the Indian races found in America. All these things lead the cultivated and informed people of the country to believe that this country in the long ago was inhabited by a race or races of people who had advanced as far in the arts and sciences as obtained in the days of Hiram, when Solomon was building the temple at Jerusalem, and when the mighty tomes were being gathered into the great library at Alexandria. Yesterday, while some excavations were being made at Browder Springs at the depth of some 20 feet below the surface, 3 tablets of a peculiar nature were discovered. They were rough and encrusted with dirt when first dug up, but their triangle shape and a ringing sound they emitted when struck with a pickaxe arrested the attention of the workmen, and they stopped to examine them. The dirt was scraped off of them and they were washed clean. They seemed to be of petrified wood but were perfect, no part having decayed on one of them, with the other 2 being somewhat defaced. As we said, they were triangle in form, being isosceles triangles, the sides of one being 6 inches in length, and the other 2 4 inches. A description of the large one is an accurate description of all of them, and we give it here. Near the apex is a letter, and immediately underneath it the figure of a human eye, on each side of which is a letter, and underneath the eye another letter. Underneath this last letter is a skull and crossbones, on either side of which is another letter. The 2 smaller tablets have evidently the same symbols on them, though they are defaced apparently by the decay of the wood. The human eye and the skull and crossbones are the work of a master hand. No wood engraver of this day and time could make better. The letters are old Phoenician characters. The tablets were brought to the Herald office in Dallas, and to decipher the hieroglyphics was the work of the hour. Research soon revealed the fact that they were Phoenician characters and corresponding with our letters ADMOSL. Below, we give an exact diagram of the tablet, substituting English letters to correspond with the Phoenician letters. The query naturally is, how did those tablets come to be buried near Browder Springs? That they had lain in the earth there for centuries, there can be no question. The earth above them was the gradual, slow formations of long, long years. Dynasties and empires passed away, and generation after generation was called to their final account during the years they have lain there. Ethnologically, the Phoenicians were Arabs or connected with the Arabian family. Nomadic in nature, they were disposed to roam over the face of the world, and we can readily believe that they found their way to America wandering through the wilds of Asia, the snows of Siberia, and across the Bering Strait, either in boats improvised for the purpose or perhaps upon the ice. They were dark in color as our Indians are, and it may be that the American Indians are descended from this people as well. The Phoenicians, we know, made the first alphabet and originated mathematics. We too know that they were skillful workers in gold and silver, iron and brass, and that the products of their looms were prized over the then known world. They were proficient in letters, arts, and sciences. Hiram, king of Phoenicia, sent to Solomon, when he was building the temple, an artist skilled to work in gold and silver and stone and timber, and who could grave any manner of graving. They had a religion of their own, and wherever they wandered, they clung to the traditions, legends, and ceremonies of their country. Is it impossible that these three little triangular tablets, with their Phoenician letters to speak for them, are not relics that speak to us from the grave of buried centuries? To tell us that once, where we now live and boast our intelligence and civilization, a people lived equally as intelligent and learned in handicraft as we. This is but speculation, it is true, but the tablets are here and can be seen by anyone at the office of the Water Supply Company on Austin Street in Dallas. With all that we have learned so far, are we to believe that this is just another joke, as has been suggested that the Rockwall Giant reports are? Are we to believe that people in the late 1800s just made up stuff about the Dallas area willy-nilly? These, of course, disappeared, but what is interesting is that they were found near the site of where the Dallas Masonic Cathedral would be built a few years later in the early 1900s. The outside of the cathedral looks as if it were built on a mound and has an underground basement level that seems to be built into the mound itself. This is very strange because we do not have basements in this part of the country due to the soil composition. This is also about a block away from Dealey Plaza. Now that I had evidence of sophisticated builders with advanced knowledge inhabiting the Americas in ancient times, my next task was to examine further the construction and materials contained in the rock wall and the origins of the stone's materials. If the wall had builders, builders need materials, and those materials had to come from somewhere, and I set out to find just where that could be.